What's good, everybody? What's up, man? This is Stephen Qualls II, aka Mr. Qualified. It's your boy, and we're back with another episode of the Right Quality with my lovely co-host,
Ashley Wright the first.
You feel me? You dig? And we are back to talk about another week in sports, mostly basketball. That's not the point. So, the first thing we're going to get into, devastating injury for Jamal Murray of the Denver Nuggets. I'm pretty sure that happened on Monday, I think. Don't remember exactly,
It was a
but
national.
yeah. So really tough, really sad to see him go down. I know when I saw the video, I knew it wasn't good. I figured more than likely it was an ACL. Really sucks because I think Denver was in a really good position to really kind of make things interesting in the West, especially with that addition of Aaron Gordon. So, just what are your thoughts on the implications for Denver now with Murray out, and how you feel like they'll fare in the playoffs? With that being said,
This could go one of two ways, and honestly, I'm hoping that it goes the way that Boston went when Kyrie was out, and then their young players stepped up. So that's when we really saw Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown play well, right?
right?
Now I feel like this gives MPJ and Aaron Gordon an opportunity to step up. And I like if that happens, do you know how beautiful that would be? And then Jamal Murray getting healthy and coming back eventually. But in terms of this year and like this year's playoffs, right now I believe the Lakers are still fourth and they're fifth. And so they will be facing a Lakers team, and we'll be talking about them later too. But I think that's the place where these young players will be able to shine. So either that happens or, you obviously missed what Jamal Murray was able to bring with, being able to drive and stretch the floor and being able to shoot and things of that nature. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how Jokic responds to Murray being out. Because, Jokic is that type of big that he can pass the ball, but without Murray on the perimeter, a lot of people will be collapsing on Jokic. So, and it won't necessarily be a problem unless, like I said, those players such as Gordon and Porter can knock down those open shots.
Just how difficult do you think, or just how much more difficult do you think it's going to be now for Jokic without the threat that Jamal Murray is to kind of neutralize what teams can do to defend him and stop him?
It definitely makes it easier for the defense to not have to pay as much attention as like to the perimeter because outside of Murray, who else is like a big deep three threat? It would be Jokic, but if the ball is in Jokic's hand and he's in the paint, I'm not worried about Jokic, obviously. So until, like I said, those other players prove themselves from beyond the arc, it's going to be incredibly difficult for Jokic to be able to play at the level we're used to him playing at.
Most definitely. I completely agree. I think that somebody you didn't mention that I feel like will be a huge piece. Well, I've always liked his game is Monte Morris, and I mean he's been a solid backup. I don't know if he moves into a starting role, or if they just mix up the lineup and keep him coming off the bench. But I definitely think he'll see more run. I think he'll get more touches, and I think this would be a prime time for him to have some sort of a breakout spurt. I mean, MPJ, I feel like we all know what MPJ is capable of. Like we're looking for him to kind of show that more consistently, but
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
all aware. And I think Morris is somebody who could really kind of put his name out there. I'm not sure what his contract situation is, but if he was looking to rise his stock, like raise his stock or anything like that, this would be the time. And I am interested to see whether he does something, with that opportunity or not. But yeah, so sad. Well, sad for Murray. I don't want to, claim it's sad for Denver just yet because they're still expected to make the playoffs, and you never know what's going to happen. But another point guard in the West, they got injured later in the week. I'm pretty sure this just happened like yesterday or 2 days ago. But Donovan Mitchell also sustained an injury. Definitely not as severe. Seems like a high ankle sprain, but something that's only going to keep him out a few games. But with this slew of injuries on top of all the injuries we've seen already this year. There's definitely been talk and there's been conversations about a huge reason for that being because of the shortened and condensed season. And, guys are playing a lot of basketball and way more basketball in shorter time frames, at least in terms of games, than they really, ever have, unless you were, considering the bubble. What are your thoughts on whether you see that to be true, whether you think this is just kind of typical, the injuries are kind of bound to happen? What are your thoughts on a short season and its role in some of these injuries?
Yeah, I definitely think it plays a role because, like we mentioned before, players aren't able to go through that routine of, in the off season being able to recover as much as they've been able to. So, like, obviously, with the condensed season, that has some type of impact on your body. And um, I feel like there's more of an impact for those teams that were in the bubble for such a long, extended, like, period of time. Because you have these teams that were playing through what was it, like July, like through September. I
Yeah, it was July through September for the most part. I'm pretty sure the finals went into October.
Right, yeah. So normally the NBA season begins again in October. So you only get that 2 month rest period. And so that obviously, I think that does play a role.
No, I would agree as well. I think it's well, I think it's naive to make it seem like it doesn't play any role whatsoever.
Right.
Do I think that all these injuries are happening because of it? I only wouldn't go that far because we've seen these same injuries, happen in the midst of a regularly, scheduled season with, games spread out and things of that nature. Injuries are a part of the game. I mean, I do think that obviously not having as much rest time or not having as much time to, take care of your body may make players more susceptible. But I mean, I guess it's also at that point where, coaches, you know, need to know how to manage these things. I mean, it's funny because that kind of leads into next thing we're just going to talk about anyway with, players sitting out big games or just really regular season games in general. I've seen it with the Bucks actually a lot recently. They'll have these maybe 2-3 game stints where they sit all the starters, and I mean they have their injuries, but I don't think any of them are obviously seriously not capable of playing. But it would seem as though that is a preventive measure to make sure that they're saving players, or at least making sure that they have a couple extra days to get some rest. But more recently, we saw this week that Kyrie, I think it was Philly, and I'm trying to figure out if it was one more game or not. But I know Kyrie sat for personal reasons. Then there was a game that KD sat. Yeah, one was Philly and one was LA, if I'm not mistaken. One of the two. Oh no, LA was the game Kyrie got rejected out of. I mean,
Yeah,
ejected
yeah,
out
yeah,
of.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah,
Which is a whole another thing. But but yeah, so more so to the players sending out big games. What are your thoughts on that? This has kind of been something that's came up before, especially when LeBron used to take his 2 week break in the middle of the season when he was in Cleveland. Do you feel a way about that? Do you feel like that's problematic, or are you kind of just like, yeah, it's whatever, players can, take those measures if they want to?
yeah. I don't want to sound hypocritical. I feel like in a season like this, it's not problematic. But
Mm.
when you have your regular 82 game season and you've had your regular length of, like an off season, then it becomes problematic. I understand, like, if you're actually injured or if there's something that's actually going on personally, then yeah, obviously, of course, you deserve to have that game or two or three, whatever, off. But just to sit out just because of rest, your rest came in the what 3 months that you had in the off season. Like, I'm not sure you signed up for this. You became, an NBA player. You wanted to play professionally, so now you have to deal with what comes with it.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's hard because we're not professional athletes in the sense of knowing the true extent of the toll that it takes, on their body. We have an idea, but none of us, at least as people just talking about it, truly know. Can we be mad? Like, can we be mad at that as fans? Can we
Yeah.
be upset
Yes.
at that? And then what does But we also know it's not going to change anything. Like fans being mad isn't going to force players to play or make.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would, Steve. Yes, it would, because we saw like I forget which season it was where Kawhi was just sitting out, 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 out. It wasn't because of his injury, but it
Yeah,
was rest, rest, rest. And so then Adam Silver, he implemented, I guess, this rule or whatever about resting because it was hurting pockets. Like fans aren't going to keep paying to go to these games just to find out an hour before the game that the superstar they came to see isn't playing anymore. It's
yeah,
ridiculous. Like I just feel like from the business standpoint that I was talking about, that's how it would change. Because again, the NBA is a business. They need revenue to continue to do what they're doing. And without that revenue, okay, well, we need to make these adjustments to where fans will continue to come and see us.
yeah. No, that's real. I think that is the side that is discussed, but it's really that nobody can really control is that business aspect of it because the league is never gonna willingly or intentionally, lose out on money. That and all that can be changed by players playing. But I'm also interested to see like if the league was to implement something that made players play or made it to where players couldn't sit out in a certain capacity. I wonder what the player response would be, and if that would create some type of I don't know, like tension or draw between like players and higher ups or coaches or whatever the case may be. So I doubt anything major or serious will come from this because this has been a conversation and the quote unquote issue for some time. Definitely at least the last decade. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing comes down to whether people are okay or feel like they're just waiting till the playoffs because that's really what it comes down to. I highly doubt that there's an ulterior motive to people resting outside of we're trying to save our players, or as a player I'm trying to make sure I'm good for the playoffs knowing my team is going to be there. But job is still a job, so I think that's one of the things to look out for or remember. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting and want to know your opinion on that. But yeah, speaking more of business, this past week, D Wade became part owner of the Utah Jazz. I'm pretty sure nobody saw this move coming, but no, I think it's a huge move for Wade. I think it's just a huge move for players in general to start moving in that direction of having that type of ownership. I think it's going to be impactful having players in that position, just in terms of really running, you know, not even so much running a business, but just having voices in there that can relate to the actual players that are in that organization and not so much just suits making all those decisions. So yeah, but what were your thoughts or takeaways or feelings about that news?
No, exactly what you said. I was watching the WNBA draft. It came on Thursday, and Renee Montgomery is a player for the Atlanta Dream, but she's also in the front office for the Atlanta Dream. And she was talking about like what you said. As players, we can relate to on the court, and so why not take it to the front office or off the court? We know what we need, so there's no better, like I guess personnel to have than those who have been in both on both sides of the fence, I guess you could say. So with Dwayne, making that move, I really like that move, and I think a player like Dwayne Wade, who has been phenomenal at what he did in the NBA, I think that adds a little bit to it as well.
For sure. Now you mentioned that somebody in Miami's front office, I guess, felt away.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any not validity, but do you think there's really anything to look at there? I mean, I guess my first thought when I saw that news wasn't that it wasn't Miami, really. I didn't think he necessarily had a obligation, to do that. And we also don't know about opportunities or whatever the case might have been there. But um do you think there's anything even to talk about there in that regard in terms of the Miami situation? And if that's something that you feel that maybe Wade should have done? I mean, I don't see it as any type of betrayal, or anything, but do you think there's anything there?
I don't, because like we've seen other people work for teams that they didn't play for. Like Michael Jordan owns part of the Hornets. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, but see, Mike is from Charlotte though.
yeah, but I just still don't think it's a big deal because we don't we don't know what went on behind the scenes. But obviously, Dwayne just made the decision that was best for him. If he felt like, owning part of the Jazz was best for him, then that's what it is. I don't I don't I don't think that is a problem. I was actually kind of shocked though that it wasn't Miami. I'm not gonna lie about that. I saw the news. I was like, oh, that's great. Jazz, you know what I mean? So I don't see it as a problem though. But I can see why that front office down there would feel some type of way.
Yeah, I mean, I could feel it, and I don't think it's anything that's gonna necessarily become news or be a major conversation. But just from a standpoint of emotional response or emotional reaction, I can definitely understand that. But yeah, no, great move for Wade. Excited to see what this may entail some more and get some more details on it. But yeah, excited for him. That's a big move for him. Yeah, so LaMarcus Aldridge retired. Nobody saw that coming. Um, when it first happened, like before everybody saw the letter, because I'm assuming everybody saw the letter at this point, there were a lot of people that truly felt like Andre Drummond drove this man to retirement.
That's so disrespectful.
It's very disrespectful.
But when I went like that, I was, oh,
But the evidence was present that could have been the case. But
totally.
no, seriously, like so we all saw the letter. I'm assuming everybody saw the letter, and so there was a much more serious health concern at the helm of this decision. Um, Thoughts on it, man? Just thoughts on. I know when I read the letter, it kind of immediately. I wouldn't say I didn't take him seriously or I thought it was a joke before, but there was just this immediate kind of, oh, okay, like nah, you should definitely take care of that. What was your initial reaction to the news and then reading the letter?
Yeah, so the news broke first and then obviously the letter second. So when I saw the news, I was like, that was left field. Like I was texting like, my group chats or whatever, and I was like, I'm not really sure why he would do that. And then, when the news came out, obviously health and family is way bigger than the game of basketball. So it became a lot more understanding with the context. But initially I was like, what for? Like, you were still playing, I'm not gonna say at a high level, but you were still producing. So
At a respectable level, given his time in the league and everything.
mhm.
Um, it was interesting when the news dropped. It was funny. One of my homies said, one of my homies said that he let himself go, and that was essentially a part of the reason, or a part of the recipe as to why he may have been dealing with the irregular heartbeat, and it was just I didn't necessarily completely disagree. I just felt it was a stretch to associate him letting himself go, quote unquote, to something like an irregular heartbeat. Like um we're not talking about somebody that's out of shape here or not healthy. Like this is still an athlete, like an active athlete at that. And a heartbeat is just something like you can be perfectly fine and healthy and have an irregular heartbeat. So I think it's just and after 15 years, I mean, we don't know if this is something we don't know we don't know anything about this for him. Like I'm pretty sure he's going to learn more, but we don't know if this is something that has been a thing for a while, whether he was aware of it or not. Like you said, we don't know how serious this is, and health and family definitely do override the sport. And I'm just personally happy uh, that he felt at ease and felt the comfort to be able to make that decision. I think you have a lot of people who will choose the game to some degree, maybe not in the most blatant or selfish sense, but they'll continue to dedicate themselves almost to a detriment. But luckily, it's just an irregular heartbeat, and hopefully, it's nothing that's super serious. But do you feel like he was able to walk away for his career? Do you feel like he was able to walk away from the game satisfied or content? Obviously, outside the fact that he never won a championship, but do you think in his 15-year career he can walk away with some satisfaction of, I guess, leaving his mark on the league?
I definitely think so. Because his career was full of, he had a career that was honestly, it's not traditional. So everywhere LaMarcus Aldridge landed, from Portland to San Antonio to Brooklyn, that was his choice. You know what I mean? So outside of being drafted by Portland, obviously. So, with that being said, plus being, an all-star,
Mm.
and all that stuff, I think it's there for him. So, like, when I say it's there, I mean he has definitely made his mark. A lot of people respect LaMarcus Aldridge and what he was able to do, at his peak, as they should. LaMarcus Aldridge was definitely, he was a really, really great big, and he did what he needed to do as far as, his game, and he made his game work for him, and it was very, very efficient. So I think he has made his mark.
Yeah, I definitely think he left his mark, and he should be able to walk away from the game not feeling like he didn't like that. He didn't give it anything. I guess as simple as that. I feel like he gave a lot to the game. There was a time where LaMarcus Aldridge was probably a top 5 big in the league. There was a stretch, that he had. He definitely had his time. This would be in Portland, obviously, but yeah, I mean, I think that I think if he stays in Portland and doesn't leave, I think him and Dame are actually able, Dame and Caesar are actually able to do. They may actually be able to do something, out west. There, I think Dame obviously has became that good, and I think if you had been able to match that with, LaMarcus toward the, end of his prime, they probably would have been able to really make some things shake in a Western Conference that at the time, probably was relatively wide open. But
I got a question for you. So Dane, he's been pushing for the Trailblazers to retire LaMarcus's number.
yeah,
And Dame was posting it on Instagram, and he used the hashtag what could have been.
mm-hmm.
That was super, super powerful. But do you think the Trailblazers should indeed retire LaMarcus's jersey?
I think so. I'm not really sure if we've kind of all as fans established the criteria for having your jersey retired.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Portland has a reason not to. Like, unless you're sitting here telling me that there's some other, because clearly the criteria is not, winning a championship, and that's not to be a knock toward anybody, but just because that doesn't happen doesn't mean the player doesn't deserve to have their, jersey retired. So I definitely think that Portland should retire it. He spent what the first. I mean, how long has he been in San Antonio? 4 years, maybe
Yeah,
5.
it was a long time. And
Like that, but he spent the majority. I was going to say the first 10, but I wasn't sure. Somewhere between the first 8 to 10 years of his career, he spent in Portland, and within that time, and I would probably have to go back and check the numbers, but I mean, before Dame got there, it was LaMarcus Aldridge, like that was his team, So it's just like, yeesh.
Yeah, he's the leader in defensive rebounds, total rebounds, and he's sixth in points per game and fifth in total games played. So he's definitely, shown up for Portland.
I put it like this. I think they should. Would I be surprised if they didn't? No, but I believe that they should retire the jersey. I believe that they should.
I think
But yeah, so very weird to see that happen. I don't know if this really changes anything for Brooklyn either. But
I don't think it changes anything.
no, not really. I mean, I think Brooklyn is still the same threat regardless, mostly because it doesn't revolve around anybody but that big three, really.
Right.
So, and just in terms of making everything move, like you can have the other players there, and they do what they do, but if it's not working or in conjunction with that big three, then they're not going nowhere. So there's that. But yeah, so for the past couple of weeks we've been mentioning, but Bron out, AD out, KD is back and forth. Harden still has the lingering injury. It's mid-April. When do we expect these players back? I don't expect Harden to be out long. I think Harden.
Yeah, there's no timetable for Harden, but I'm not necessarily worried about him being available for the playoffs.
I don't know. Well, the thing is, I'm not worried about any of these players being. All these players will be suited up come playoff time. Mm-hmm. The thing is, what are these injuries and just how serious are they? I don't think Harden has. He doesn't seem to have a serious hamstring injury. It seems like he is resting to make sure that he doesn't have a serious hamstring injury, which is cool. By all means, you should. And Harden's really been leading y'all since he got there, to be 100% honest, in all facets of the word lead, actually. So there's that. I'm not worried about Bron either. Obviously it wasn't a serious ankle injury. I really feel like he's just resting, just taking the time to make sure it's fully healed, not taking no chances. They can afford to do that because he's LeBron, and when you have LeBron, you're gonna be the same threat regardless. KD, I wouldn't say I'm concerned about. I think the Nets this entire season, they've just really been extremely cautious. I wouldn't go as far as saying I'm worried about conditioning or if he'll be ready come playoff time. I just do think the only thing that's going to bite Brooklyn, in the ass, is that they really haven't had a chance for that core to lead together on the floor. And playoff basketball is not like you can equate regular season basketball to pickup a lot of nights. Not so much in the respect that that there's no structure, but a lot of times in the regular season game, you can tell people go get it. And the game kind of allows for that because it just happens. And a lot of times if you playing teams that just ain't as good or don't got no motivation to beat you, y'all just out there playing. But come playoff time, obviously that changes. Teams are studying you. Everybody has something to lose. Everybody's going after the same thing. And a lot of times, especially, not so much the East, maybe more so in the West, but it's going to be pretty equal or pretty even every round. I don't know if they get by off just sheer talent in the playoffs, or I don't know how far. I don't know if that takes them, to a championship or not. I definitely don't think sheer talent beats a fully healthy LA team. I think there's a couple teams out west in terms of if Brooklyn made to the championship that if fully healthy, they can't beat, off of just the sheer talent of what they have. So I just hope I'm more so for Brooklyn, hopefully, Kyrie's fine. And, they can just get that chemistry together. But I think that's the only concern. Now, the Lakers, however, though, I don't know what's going on with this AD thing, man. AD, at this point, AD going on like 3 months of being out. And it's just like,
I know this week they announced that he's been cleared to practice. So I guess we're getting somewhere. Like you said, I'm not afraid of any of these players missing any playoff time. But AD, I don't know. Like, is he going to be on limited minutes in the playoffs? Like, what's up?
I tell you right now, if AD better not be on limited minutes in the play. What?
Okay. Okay. He's just now being cleared.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Practice. So there's no, when is AI? Yeah, AI. But seriously, just now being cleared for practice, and the playoffs are a month away. Mm-hmm. How soon in between being cleared for practice and the playoffs is he going to get any regular season action? Like, it just doesn't. I don't know. It seems like playoffs is when he's going to have those limited minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know because. It's kind of like, all right, man, like what's going on? What's like you're just getting clear to practice? if that is any implication that you still have like a relatively large amount of time before you can actually play,
Yes.
like that just don't seem good, Mitchell. Like I don't think that's gonna bode well for y'all and only because the Lakers benefited last year not only from pretty much having it together at the time the regular season ended, but they were by far the most focused team in the bubble, and probably for obvious reasons with LeBron and everything. But it was really them and the Clippers. That's what everybody basically said it was going to come down to. Whoever won that series was going to win the championship. And once the Clippers weren't even in their way, it's kind of like they coasted to a degree, really. But you didn't have players missing time. And the only person that made a drastic change from regular season to the playoffs was Rondo. But other than that, the team pretty much already had all the chemistry there, and they just found the lineup that worked for them. I don't think, like, granted, Denver being out the picture gives them maybe one less thing to worry about, or Denver being out the picture with the assumption that obviously they aren't as good, without Jamal Murray. But I don't like if y'all don't have it, like AD ain't played in 2.5 months. Bron gonna be coming back right before the regular season ends, so he gonna be out going like almost month and a half. I don't know. Schroeder had missed games. Now you got Drummond, and you got it. He ain't even played with Bron and AD in a game before. What are you doing with Marcus Gasol? Like, does he just ride the bench now? Like, it's just the team is nowhere near as I just don't feel like they're operating in unison, or they don't have the cohesion that they had last year. And again, sheer talent, I feel like, only gets you so far when you're meeting a team that has either the same talent level as you or is in the same bracket at least, and they have chemistry. So I feel like really it's up in the air for all these teams. I feel like a lot of people are saying like, they're just that good, they're going to get there. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. Like, when these teams have time to sit there and study you and come up with schemes to take you out of your, regular game plan, what are you going to do? At that point, I'm not saying there aren't players involved that have the sheer talent to adjust and do what needs to be done. But can you win a 7-game series with that? That's what it comes down to for me. But that was just a lot. But please add anything you want to onto that.
Yeah, no, I agree because it's like having AD on limited minutes, almost every team in the West has a nice big, right?
Yeah.
With no one able to guard those bigs, because who's going to stay in front of them? Like, no knock to Drummond, but he's only one player. He has to guard his position, right? So you leave that four that's open, or a lot of fours in the West know how to stretch the floor.
Five two.
Fives too is so dangerous. So having AD on the floor is bigger than what a lot of people think. Oh, Bron can just do this. Bron is one person, and while we've seen Bron, carry a team, is harder in the West than people think. Like last season, he had AD. So not having AD will be a dramatic difference. I promise it would.
Yeah, it's completely different. And it's not to take anything away from Bron. Like you said, and Drummond is a great defender, obviously. But AD guarded Jimmy Butler for at least half of the finals. Like, that's what AD can do. So when you don't have that, because when you start playing these teams where it's like, okay, Bron got to guard somebody, who next in line?
Yes.
Somebody else. Like, when they do play the Clippers, if Bron is going to guard either Kawhi or Paul George, who's going to guard the other one? Yeah, you can play Schroeder and Rondo. They'll equal out. But so now Drummond's also going to have to play Boogie. And so at this point, it's like
Zubac is not a punk. Like,
so I'm saying there's just a lot that there's a lot that I feel like should be taken into consideration. as we enter the playoffs, which is why I continuously get so excited because there's so many factors and moving pieces, and especially with all these players for these championship contending teams seeming to be on their way to coming back right as the regular season is ending. I think because that will also play a role in the seeding, I'm just really interested to see like what these first round matchups looks like, and then who's going to move on, because I think it's gonna be a free for all, and on both sides I feel like there's going to be not so much as a toss up like it's literally anybody. I still think there are favorites, but I don't think anybody has an easy path
Right.
coming out of either conference this year, even if it's just those top four teams, and not even just the top four teams in the East. Because if Miami doesn't even place in the top four, they're going to be a tough out regardless. Yeah, so I feel like it's going to be a free for all either way. But yeah, do you have a dark horse? Before we get into moment of clarity, do you have a dark horse? As far as a championship contender, because I know mine's. So, and this might be everybody's, but mine's is Phoenix.
I was just gonna say.
Because also, okay, while we're talking about it, while we're doing it, we're going to give Chris Paul his flowers right now.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna happen.
He needs Coach of the Year.
No, honestly, truly, he does. And these are two things I'll say about CP. So first and foremost, there are a lot of people that have knocked CP for being one of those players, not maybe as bad as Harden, but being one of those players that kind of gets, to the peak, but can't see over. Like he's been to multiple Western Conference finals, this, that, and the third, hasn't been able to get over the hump. I would like to argue that none of the times that Chris Paul didn't make it to the conference finals or the finals weren't necessarily solely his fault, but that's neither here nor there. Secondly, we're talking about one of the greatest point guards of all time. We're talking about a potential steals leader. We're talking about somebody who's going to finish top 10 in steals and assists. We're talking about a person who, how many people are going 5-6 game stretches with a turnover? Turnover probably wasn't even his fault.
As a point guard.
So it's just like, but I feel like people have always been like, oh, well, there are still people that say he's not a superstar. There are still people that, I don't even know what other knock, there really is. But I just feel like CP doesn't, he hasn't gotten his flowers yet for whatever odd reason. And he deserves them. He's in year 16, 17 as a point guard at his size, still playing at an extremely high level. Then, to your point of Coach of the Year, if CP finishes his career in Phoenix, which honestly, I personally would love to see that, because at this point, the team is good.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's a money situation, I don't see why you would be moving Chris Paul, especially with the impact he's had on Devin Booker. If CP stays there, Devin Booker might just become the most dangerous player in the league. I said it.
It would be so monstrous.
I said it.
So monstrous.
And here's why. Because take this for example. When Tatum first got to Boston and Kyrie was there, Tatum already had his own bag. We already pretty much knew Tatum was going to excel and play at a high level. We knew that. But the things he was able to take from Kyrie, and that was solely like what he was able to take from Kyrie was solely in physical game. Like when you look at some of the moves Tatum have, you can tell that he got that from Kyrie. That's great. No problem. And Tatum already had an IQ where, like I don't think anybody was going to question his, IQ within the game. The difference for Booker to be learning from somebody like Chris Paul, who just, his mind, first and foremost, is probably a top 5 current mind in basketball. Secondly, just there aren't too many people that know the game like Chris Paul does, like a true student. And so for Book to be learning from him, not only will Book continue to be a lethal scorer, you're now putting him in the mindset of a point guard.
With the
With the like this, it's gonna be extremely scary. The more Booker learns from CP, the scarier is he's going to get, and the scarier Phoenix is going to get, even once CP is gone, if Booker stays and they keep that core intact, which I really hope they do. But no, that's CP deserves his flowers, and yeah, Book may do some real damage if he can embody half of what he's probably learning from CP. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I agree.
Well, that's all the topics that we have for today. To our favorite segment of this show, for our moment of clarity, do you have anything special for the people today?
Yeah, it came from a moment where the Blazers was playing the Celtics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Celtics have a rookie, Peyton. I'm a butcher his last name. Pritchard.
Oh yeah, Get to it. Get to
Yeah,
it.
you already know what I'm
him?
about to
What
say.
happened to him?
Yeah, I don't know why Melo wanted to put that rookie in the spin cycle.
Melo want to play. Melo want to play around.
Man, that move gave me the reaction of, like, you know, the uncle that's at the barbecue. He like, let me get a shot. You know what I mean?
I'm crying.
Like, I was looking at that. I'm like, wow. You did not have to do that rookie like that. He was not.
Like, Melo, why you like? That's what. Hey, that's one of them moments where you on the bench. You just look up like, why you on that? Like, what you on? Why you?
Yeah.
You want to show out today? You just feeling froggy, you know?
For real, I don't.
Pickup game, relax. That's how I felt. But no, he definitely put him in a blender. It's always nice to see some vintage Melo from time to time. Yeah. Also, we gotta, for next episode, we gotta check and see where he's at on the scoring list. Supposed to be keeping tally on that.
We are
pretty sure he's close to moving up relatively soon. Yep. I don't know, it wasn't this year, but he was close to getting to that 10. 10 wasn't far. But yeah, Melo, I always appreciate Melo moments. Yeah, so mine actually is about Kyrie in this Schroeder exchange. Let's just kind of we don't even gotta break it down like that. Let's just get to the meat of all this. So whatever happens, you know, Kyrie, you know, doesn't want to be called the N-word. Okay.
I didn't. Okay. Watching the game, obviously, I didn't know what was said or what went on. So, can you like enlighten me? You know what I mean?
So from the couple clips I saw over social media, basically, whatever happened, I don't know, there was a foul, whatever happened, Schroeder's response to Kyrie was, you know, like, basically like, God, you know, basically it was relaxed, but with some extra words, including the N-word. Mm-hmm. And that's what Kyrie flipped out about. Was the N-word. That's what his reaction to. He was basically saying, like, I'm not that, you know, don't call me that, this, that, and the third. Then, you know, he had his tweet, you know, where he explained this, that, and the third, woo, 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 and all of that. And I have a why. I will, like, why? I don't know. But more importantly, I will never argue or be upset at somebody saying they don't want to be called that. Mm-hmm. In all honesty, like, if we're talking about the history of the word, nobody wants to be called that. Mm-hmm. There is a reality that in our community, the word has been, you know, changed, or at least the, you know, what's the word? How you break it down at change, whatever the word is. I don't know what the word is. The point is, us as a community, we've changed it and started using it in a way that's more so term of endearment, or just not with the negative connotation of its history. Don't mean we forgot it, but in all honesty, if we being real, that's how we use it. Mm-hmm. And so my thing for Kyrie is, there's no way that you're just naive to the fact that people use this word in that capacity. I'm not saying you have to personally be okay with it, but to respond in that manner as if it doesn't happen and as if it hasn't been happening, it didn't feel like an overreaction per se, because I'm not trying to diminish his feelings toward the word and his stance, because I feel it. But at the same time, especially at the cost of you being ejected, it's just like I feel like you should be able to manage that. You don't like it, maybe you just walk away from it. Maybe you say something to Schroeder in a manner that ain't to throw a tantrum, but it's just to let it be known how you feel and move on. But I feel like he just kind of like took it here, and it didn't have the response didn't have to be up here. So that's where I'm like, why? And then do it under the premise of the enlightenment, or that it's more like that's a more important issue. Nobody's arguing that, but also ain't nobody else going to respond like that to something that we know happens. You know what I'm saying? So, and this will be completely different, obviously, if like a white player had said it.
Yeah,
Exactly. Obviously, but somebody made a joke that because Schroeder is German, that's why Kyrie took a to. I hate social media, but
yeah.
but still, the reaction didn't have to be that. So that's I'm like, come on, man. And you, Kyrie, you've been playing too long, and even with your feelings about the media and not wanting to talk to them, like, cool. Everybody gets that. Y'all shouldn't have to. Y'all aren't entitled to give the media everything, and they're not entitled to know everything about y'all outside of what y'all do in basketball. But come on, man, you gotta be realistic about some things. And I just feel like that response and reaction was unrealistic in the sense of this is not new. The use of it in our culture is not new. So why have that big of a response to something on that scale and on that platform about something that has been going on?
Mm-hmm.
And the conversation you want to have isn't the conversation you can have on a basketball court. That's all I'm saying. And nobody's trying to diminish how you feel, but I just feel like you definitely should understand where that ain't gonna change overnight, and also ain't gonna change because you flip out on the basketball court.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
That's all I'm saying. But yeah, well, all right. That was fun. That was swell. Hopefully everybody gets it. Hopefully everybody gets it together. I'm excited for the next month or so leading up to the playoffs, just to see how seeding works out and things like that. But yeah, any parting words for the people?
Nope. Y'all know where to follow us at. I will not be butchering it this episode.
And I'm so weak. But yeah, no, y'all know where to follow us, man. Again, let us know if there's anything y'all want us to talk about. Stay tapped into our other content. Let us know what y'all think of what we've been discussing on the show and all of that good jazz. And yeah, until next time, until next week, we'll catch y'all then. Peace.